On the issue of security, we examine some new initiatives to combat transnational and organized crime. We discussed the development of a CARICOM counter-terrorism strategy and border security projects and programs, including the current expansion of the APIS system and the establishment of an advanced cargo information systems. Impacts, of course, made a very informative and useful presentations on a range of security threats, given their nature being security-based. I'm not at liberty to disclose to the public, at least at this time. I had the honor to introduce our Deputy Prime Minister and Minister of Education in his capacity as Chair of the Commission on Human Resource Development to present the HRD Human Resource Development 2030 strategy. The strategy sets out actions for basic education from early childhood through secondary, tertiary, and lifelong learning, which will enable our citizens to reach their full potential for their personal benefit and that of their families, their communities, their country, and of course the CARICOM region. The conference endorsed that strategy and committed to its implementation. As we speak about that, the Ministry of Education here is refining its own education action plan, and it draws upon the perspectives of regional work and international policy prescription. The matter of Venezuela, not surprisingly, was elaborated on at length, and in the end, a statement was issued calling for the adherence to the rule of law, democracy, and human rights. What was significant, though, was the offer of CARICOM to facilitate dialogue among contending parties in Venezuela. So, Speaker, I had the opportunity during the margins of these meetings to pursue productive bilateral discussions with the Foreign Minister of Venezuela, Samuel Moncada, and the Under-Secretary of State, Thomas Shannon, of the U.S. government, of course. I urge in that meeting with the U.S. high-level officials that we must do more to assist in preventing the legal entry of guns and ammunition in our country and in the Caribbean region. The data presented by impacts in the Caucus of Heads would reflect that 95% of all guns and ammunition that enter into the Caribbean can be traced back to the United States of America. And so we need to have greater cooperation with them. Although, in fact, constitutionally, the United States is a nation that accepts the rights of persons to bear arms, and that had provided, in discussion in the past, some difficulty in terms of what the federal government there was prepared to do on this matter. In addition to that particular sensitive matter of security, we discussed the matter of the FinCEN advisory of May 2014, which was imposed on our beloved country by the U.S. Treasury Department. The report of FinCEN in the time indicated that it had become necessary for the U.S. government to take that last resort effort because the U.S. government had lost confidence in the Douglas regime. Mr. Speaker, I must place on record the excellent support that I received at this meeting by the Deputy Prime Minister and the Permanent Secretary in the Ministry of Foreign Affairs, Kebas, and the Permanent Secretary in the Office of the Prime Minister, Mr. Andrew Skerrit. The second statement, Mr. Speaker, with your leave, I propose to make relates to the recruitment of a national security advisor. Mr. Speaker, I should begin by saying that the recruitment of a national security advisor is in fulfillment of the requirement of law and the Constitution of St. Kitts and Nevis. The National Security Advisor is a public officer, and he is the chief professional advisor on national security matters in the office of the Prime Minister, not in the Ministry of National Security, and he is appointed in accordance with Section 79 of the Constitution of St. Kitts and Nevis. The National Security Officer is a named member of the National Defense Council, established in accordance with Section 8, subsection 1 of the National Defense Council Act, revised edition 2009, chapter 19.20 of the laws of St. Christopher and Nevis. We are satisfying a legal obligation of the government to uphold the law in relation to this matter. Section 8, subsection 2, outline in some details the responsibilities of the National Security Advisor. And I just make reference to some of these for the enlightenment of the public and for persons to have a clearer appreciation how this particular personality will function vis-a-vis others in the structure and system of our national security apparatus. The law says that he should advise and make recommendation and propose policies and strategies on the national security and on matters pertaining to security issues. He should contribute to the formulation of national security policies, and he should serve on any committee, commission, board, or authority that deal with issues of national security at the direction of the Prime Minister. He represents the government and the direction of the Prime Minister at national, regional, and international meetings where the subject matter, of course, engages upon the security interests of St. Christopher and Nevis. He is responsible for gathering and collating information and intelligence on national security matters, collaborating as necessary with local, regional, and international agencies involved in intelligence gathering and analysis. He is also responsible for gathering and presenting operational information and advising the National Defense Council on the effectiveness, important, on the effectiveness of law enforcement agencies in countering threats to national security, and on the implementation of the policies of the National Defense Council. The National Security Officer, therefore, is a very, very important and auspicious post in the national security structure of the Federation. Clearly, by what has been outlined and prescribed by law, this post is distinct from the role of the Commissioner of Police. So he's not coming to be that, the commander of our defense force, and it is distinct from the role of the permanent secretary. Yet this is one of the most senior persons in the security system. While close collaboration is required, the office provides added value to the functioning of the security system in our country. The office holder obviously should bring his expert knowledge and experience to bear on policy formulation and implementation. Well, how did we choose this individual? On November 29, 2016, and in the days and weeks following, the Ministry of National Security advertised in major newspapers, over radio stations, in print and electronic media, and online, particularly through Erskine Vibes, inviting applications from interested members of the public to fill the post of National Security Advisor. Additionally, invitations were sent to police forces and other security organizations in the region. Interested applicants were required to submit their letters of interest and supporting documents by the 16th of January 2017. At the close of the period of advertisement, only 3 applications were received, 2 from nationals of St. Kitts and Nevis and 1 from a national of Dominica. After due consideration, the Ministry of National Security determined that none of the 3 applicants had the necessary experience, qualifications, and training that were required for the position. None of these applicants had the leadership experience, wealth of work, and academic credentials that would recommend them for consideration for the post. Many of them, or all 3 of them, function too low in the hierarchical structure of the organization in which they last worked or were presently working to bring much in terms of leadership and experience which such a high post require. In our efforts to fill this very vital post, my government then ensured that we reach out further to the region for support and assistance. And in this regard, we consulted with the Regional Security System, the RSS, and the CARICOM impacts, as well as with our missions overseas. And we solicited their assistance in encouraging suitably experienced and qualified individuals to apply. This second batch of encouraging persons to apply produced 2 new applications with very strong recommendations. One was a Trinidadian-born professor in security-related fields at the point of retirement in the United States of America, and the second applicant was the retired Major General Stuart Saunders of Jamaica. He was referred to by a well-respected regional organization within the region. Interviews were held with Major General Saunders and the US-based university professor in May of 2017. The report from the interview panel highly favored Major General Saunders. Indeed, when the scores were tabulated, the professor got about 54, the major got 86%. In summarizing the interview panel found that retired Major General Saunders would bring a number of competencies to the position. Few persons within the region and within the hemisphere could compete in terms of these competencies. The Major will bring to St. Kitts and Nevis over 40 years of distinguished public service dealing with crime at the operational, strategic, and policy levels. This is a man then who has been there, has done that, and has a story to tell to the world. Secondly, the knowledge and experience in dealing with crime at both national, regional, and international levels. Third, knowledge and experience in the development of critical legislation and policies to improve anti-crime efforts. Fourth, first-hand experience and knowledge of the transformation process of military and law enforcement organizations to enhance public safety. Fifth, advice on the unification of government ministries for the national security effort. Sixth, advice on human capital improvements through training, education and development courses. Of course, this is important because almost on every occasion when we are challenged, we find human resource deficiencies being put forward by the leadership of the security forces for performance or lack thereof. And therefore, it was important that this person comes with the knowledge and capability and ability to deal with these challenges. And then he must help us in intelligence gathering capabilities. The National Security Advisor also brings specific knowledge related to terrorism in the Caribbean. Terrorism has now been flagged as one of the highest threats of concern to the US government in the hemisphere. And so it is important very early that we are able to deal with this in our own self-interest and for the broader security of the region. 9, he brings advice on how to deal with threats to regional security. Importantly, this man of over 40 years standing in the military had been involved in the Grenada difficult situation of 1979 to 83. And so he brings their participation in regional efforts. And indeed, he was honored as a result of the leadership he had taken in relation to the 1979 to 83 events in Grenada. Well recognized, breadth of experience. He has been there, he has done that. He is ready to go from day one. And of course, advice on the development of national security strategy. Clearly, all of these competencies and more outlined by the interview panel as to why they preferred Major Saunders are necessary competencies for this job. Major General Saunders has played a major role and led in legislative reform in Jamaica, including the development of anti-gang legislation. This is something now the new Commissioner of Police have asked us to become more aggressive in its implementation. DNA Evidence Act, updating Road Traffic Act, transformation of national forensic labs, and the establishment of an anti-corruption branch of the Jamaica, separate from the Jamaica Constabulary. So when you look at all of these are matters now in vogue in terms of our own security action plan. And we are bringing on board at this time a man who has a wealth of knowledge, theoretical and practical, a man who has operated at tactical, strategic, and policy levels in relation to all of these matters. The general understands and has emphasized that we need a holistic approach to crime fighting in St. Kitts and Nevis. And he has said to the interview panel, drawing on his experience, he would not want St. Kitts and Nevis to make some of the mistakes that Jamaica did. There must be a humanistic approach. There's a need to change the mindset of children in their formative age group. Primary schools must be targeted for action. They must be taught that some of the persons who they perceive as members and who are gang members are not appropriate for mentorship. And there's a need to bring back the belief system in society away from radicalism and violence. At-risk youths are the ones that need to be targeted, starting right now, with legislation, with proper rehabilitation process, as well as with anti-corruption measures. Yes, he understands better than most, drawing on his experience, that the over-dependence on the clubstick approach through the deployment of the security forces is not the full panacea or the silver bullet to solve criminality in the long run. I want, Mr. Speaker, to say that not only is this man distinguished and experienced in so many areas, this man is a bright star. And at this current moment, He is serving as an adjunct lecturer in the Masters in National Security and Strategic Studies program at UWI. In fact, he has been a lecturer in a master's program in security at Mona since 2005. He himself has been well trained in London, in Israel, and in the USA. He has attended training across the globe in a variety of areas. He has distinguished himself with diploma in human resource development, Masters of Science in human resource development, and we could go on and on to speak about this shining light in terms of the Major Saunders. I gather that, interestingly, those who wish to engage in the politics of distraction and want to engage in the politics of denigration have said that there is something untoward with respect to Major Saunders and his involvement in the Didas Coke Tivoli Garden affair. His job, as we understand it, was to outmaneuver the criminal gang elements who had taken over the inner city of Jamaica in defiance of every principle of the rule of law and good government. They locked down Tivoli Gardens. They prevented persons from coming in. They oppressed those who defied their wishes. And as it were, they attempted to set up a state within a state in Jamaica. It was the Major General's job to restore order and to bring those criminal gangsters to justice. And he did just that. The Permanent Secretary in the Ministry of National Security read thoroughly on the interviewing panel the report of this affair, and they have assured me there is absolutely nothing in that report that associates General Saunders with any criminal activity with respect to that operation. He had a job to do. He went and he did the job. We have made several inquiries pertaining to the suitability of General Saunders for the position of national security. And our findings have confirmed the initial impressions and verdict of the interview panel. For the record, let's be clear, whatever the naysayers who did nothing to arrest the upsurge in criminal activity in our country may now say that something is being done. No charges, I repeat, no charges were ever proffered against Major General Saunders by the Commission of Inquiry. Secondly, he completed his service in the Jamaica Defense Force at the highest level attainable in that, retiring in October of 2010 under a Jamaica Labour Party government. And he, since 2005, as I said, continued after the 2010 to serve the University of the West Indies as a lecturer and course coordinator. In 2012, this is after the Tivoli affair, in 2012, the government of the day brought him back to serve as senior consultant and national security advisor to Minister Peter Bunting under the government of the People's National Party. Succeeding administrations in Jamaica had confidence in this major to promote him after the Dudas affair. So here it is. This man went in to help restore order in an activity in a political environment in which Dudas was wanted to be extradited. Dudas was terrorizing all of Jamaica, soiling the reputation of Jamaica. And after that incident, rather than being demoted, which would be the natural flow, if he had done anything untoward, he was being lifted up and promoted. not by the Jamaica Labour Party that was in power then, but also by the People's National Party that had regained power at the time. Their own Minister of National Security, Peter Bunting, recruited him as senior consultant, senior national security advisor. He went back to lecture with the university in 2013. I want to also make the point, not only was he recruited as the senior consultant in security matters in Jamaica after the Dudos affair, but he was also appointed as permanent secretary, the highest level in national security in Jamaica. In 2013, there was a change of government in Jamaica in February 2016, and he continued to function in that role. Because what? The government knew this was a good man in which they had confidence. He has served in a variety of areas: Director of AIM Security Company, Director of Advantage General Insurance Company, Chairman of Harborview Primary School Board of Governors, and he has been consultant with external bodies on behalf of the government of Jamaica. It was the government of Jamaica who appointed him as a member of the Jamaica Cadet Committee, the body responsible for the Cadet Corps in Jamaica. And he's also a member of a group of persons that the Minister of National Security convened from time to time to seek advice on tackling crime. One regional expert said to us that we have in the Major General a very good and qualified person who grew up in an environment of discipline and respect. That is the kind of environment plus which we want our young people to grow up, an environment of discipline and respect. We feel in this side of the House that we have an excellent choice in the National Security Advisor. And he came to us. Not only was the paperwork in order, not only was the practical experience in order, we had to get recommendation to complete this transparent process. And we went to the government to find out what were their views. The Cabinet Secretary of the current administration responded and indicated that we had an excellent find in this gentleman. So he has the support of the incumbent administration. The Chief of Staff of the Jamaica Defense Force gave a sterling recommendation of this gentleman. And the University of the West Indies Academic Director, Dr. Hilton McDavid, who is in charge of the Masters in National Security and Strategic Studies program, gave him also an excellent recommendation. I have heard various persons describe him as one of the best security minds in our region. For the record, when we compare what the country will now have to what there was in the past, it is really chalk and cheese. Mr. Speaker, the last National Security Advisor named for St. Kitts and Nevis was a novice, an unknown quantity, a medical practitioner and a failed politician in the name of Narjan Wilson. That was what we had as a National Security Advisor. We will continue to enhance public safety in our country, and we are happy at this juncture to bring on board retired Major General Saunders to assist the people of St. Kitts and Nevis at this one of our greatest time of need. I pray that God will continue to bless this country that I love, and peace and prosperity will abound. May it please you, Mr. Speaker. Thank you.
Stay up to date with news, programs, and activities of the government with SKNIS. Like us on Facebook. Listen to us on SoundCloud. Follow us on Twitter. And watch our videos on YouTube. Connect with us today. SKNIS, St. Kitts and Nevis Information Service.